Hello. Today our group is thrilled to present a focused exploration of mRNA vaccines in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Fida, and with me are my colleagues Fu, Faith, Hakimi, Ernest, and Bom. As we dive into this presentation, we aim to provide insights into the groundbreaking technology behind the mRNA vaccines and the pivotal role in shaping our response to the current health crisis. Thank you for your attention, and let us explore this critical topic together.
Let us now look at the overview of COVID-19. It is short for Coronavirus Disease 2019. It is a viral illness caused by the severe acute respiratory system coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2. Now here's a quick overview. COVID-19 was first identified in the December of 2019 in Wuhan, China. The transmission. The virus primarily takes through respiratory droplets when an infected person starts talking, coughing, or sneezing. It can also be spread by surface that has been touched by the contaminated person. Now, what are the symptoms? It includes fever, cough, shortness of breath, and it can range from mild to severe, and some individuals may even be asymptomatic. Now, what are the high groups that can be risk of COVID-19? There are elderly people and those who have health conditions. They are more vulnerable to the severe outcomes. What can we do to prevent this from getting COVID-19? We can practice social distancing, we can have regular hand washing, and we can have vaccination. Now, there are several tests that can be used to diagnose COVID-19. PCR, antigen, and antibody test. What are the treatment based on COVID-19? It can range from supportive cases for mild cases and intensive medical interventions for severe cases. Now, the global impact of COVID-19. COVID-19 has a significant impact on the world wide, affecting public health, economies, and daily life. Now, let us look into the vaccine that's developed for this COVID-19.
The first COVID-19 vaccine to receive emergency use authorization and approval for widespread use was Pfizer. It was granted by regulatory agencies including the US Food and Drug Administration (FDA) and the European Medicines Agency (EMA) in December 2020. And the type of vaccine they are making is mRNA vaccine. So how does it work? Vaccine contains mRNA, which can direct cells to make specific proteins. The mRNA then enters our cell and it tells our cells to produce COVID spikes. These harmless spikes give our immune system the information needed to quickly detect coronavirus infection. Memory cells such as memory B cells and memory T cells are generated, which remember how to recognize and fight the virus. If the vaccinated person is later exposed to the actual SARS-CoV-19 virus, their immune system recognizes the virus based on the memory cells. Hence, antibodies are produced. The new antibodies response, they attach themselves on the spikes, keeping the virus from reproducing. The immune system is primed to respond rapidly, preventing or minimizing the severity of the infection, and this is called secondary immune response.
And now I'll talk about the vaccine development. So the process of the development begins with the identification of a target antigen. In this case, the antigen identified was the spike protein found on the surface of all coronavirus. After identifying the antigen, scientists will then design the mRNA sequence, and this mRNA serves as a molecular blueprint carrying the essential information needed to instruct our cells. The synthesized mRNA is then encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle, which is a protective shell that ensures the mRNA reaches its destination intact. This lipid nanoparticle acts as a delivery vehicle, facilitating the entry of the mRNA into our cells. Before reaching human trials, the mRNA vaccine undergoes rigorous testing in preclinical study to make sure the antigen identified is able to provoke an acceptable immune response by using cell culture and animal testing. If successful, the vaccine can move on to the clinical phase. The first phase consists of a small group of people, which is usually less than 100, to evaluate the safety and dosage, while phase 2 consists of a larger group, including individuals with known risk for the COVID-19, to evaluate safety and effectiveness on human. and if everything is fine, we'll move on to the last phase, which involves thousands of participants to spot any potential side effects. And based on the result of the clinical trials, vaccine developer will submit the data to regulatory authorities for approval. And once the approval is obtained, large-scale manufacturing of the mRNA vaccine will begin and then distribute for public use.
Just like any other medications, vaccine can cause side effects, so we'll be discussing the crucial aspects of COVID-19 vaccination, focusing on rare but serious side effects associated with certain vaccines. The two rare inflammatory conditions linked to COVID-19 vaccines are myocarditis and pericarditis, which are inflammatory conditions reported in some individuals post-COVID-19 vaccination, particularly with mRNA vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna. The incidence of these diseases following COVID-19 vaccination is rare. Notably, these conditions are more prevalent in males under the age of 30, especially after the second dose of an mRNA vaccine. The symptoms for myocarditis involves the inflammation of the heart, while pericarditis is inflammation of the lining around the heart. Symptoms may include chest pain and shortness of breath. Monitoring and treatment is integrated by healthcare authorities by actively monitoring and investigate reports of these conditions. Recommendations for certain groups may include recommending alternative vaccines for specific age groups or providing additional guidance on vaccine administration. Shifting our focus to thrombosis, there have been rare reports associated with the J&J COVID-19 vaccine. The specific type observed is cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, or in short CVST, primarily in women under the age of 50. The incidence of these clotting events is extremely rare. The benefits of vaccination in preventing severe illness and death from COVID-19 generally outweigh the risks for the vast majority of people. Symptoms of thrombosis may include severe headaches, abdominal pain, and neurological symptoms. Precautions and recommendations is also ensured by health authorities by providing guidance, and in some cases they recommend alternative vaccines, especially for certain age and gender groups.
Regarding the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines such as Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna, reports have been submitted to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, also known as VAERS, regarding potential side effects or adverse events. It is important to understand a few key points. VAERS relies on voluntary reporting from healthcare professionals, vaccine manufacturers, and the general public. Anyone can submit a report if they suspect an adverse event following vaccination. Reports in VAERS are not certified proofs of causation. They represent temporal associations between a vaccination and an adverse event. Causality is determined through further investigation and analysis. The mRNA vaccines have undergone rigorous testings and clinical trials and have been shown to be safe and effective. Common side effects are generally mild and temporary, including pain at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle pain, chills, fever, and nausea. There have been very rare reports of serious adverse events such as myocarditis and pericarditis, especially in younger age groups after the vaccination. Health authorities closely monitor and investigate these cases. Health organizations, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, continually assess the safety of COVID-19 vaccinations. Please keep in mind that the benefits of the vaccinations in preventing severe illness and death from COVID-19 are generally considered to outweigh the risks of potential adverse events.
Conclusion for this topic: vaccines are important for people. mRNA vaccines for COVID-19, such as Pfizer and Moderna, they have been proven highly effective in preventing several illnesses and deaths from the virus. But like any medical intervention, they can have adverse effects. Some critical adverse events such as myocarditis and pericarditis. They are particularly common among certain age groups. Effective communication and transparency about vaccine safety, ongoing monitoring, and addressing public concerns are integral to maintaining trust in vaccination programs. It is recommended that individuals consult with healthcare providers for personalized information. Last but not least, here are some ways to protect ourselves. First, wear our mask properly. Next, wash your hands with soap for 20 seconds. Lastly, avoid a crowded environment and stay safe.